Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. For neck range of motion with both lateral cervical flexion and also rotation, there's many more exercises and things you can do to help open that range of motion besides what we did today. In a full body fix, I can only include so much. I include about, I mean, it's a lot, but at the same time, I include about maybe, I don't know, 5% of like all the body mechanic stuff that we go through in a VIP system. So yes, there's a lot more. There's band exercises you can do where they actually attach to your head and you're doing strengthening exercises. There's rotation. There's things that you can do with both self-applied manual therapy as well as a professional doing manual therapy on you to help open up that range of motion. Really, the first thing you want to address is the mobility. If unless you have some situation where the really weakness is a major factor, then you want to try to start opening up the mobility, get a little more range of motion, and each time you increase mobility, then you want to add strength to that mobility. So we have a whole series of exercises that you can do in addition to what we did today.
So you could fix me if I joined?
Yeah, well, here's what I can guarantee you. And actually I love your question. I guarantee you that you'll have significant progress with me, and you get to decide significant. And if you didn't, then you'd have my guarantee that you'd pay nothing. So
Okay.
yeah, I guarantee you. Any client who I bring on, we do these semi-private sessions because I get into the detail. Well, what is it that you want to achieve? Making sure that I can create our significant progress and guarantee. And if I can, then I'd actually invite the individual to be a VIP with us. So that's the way my structure actually works. And in your case, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Next
Absolutely.
question. Um, I have a stand sit walking desk, and I have been told that when I'm sitting or standing, I should be using a footrest to keep, a little short footrest to keep one of my feet up. Does that put me all out of alignment? Should I be doing that? Or should I just not use one or focus on maintaining perfect alignment as I use that footrest?
Yeah, the footrest is a good idea because it can alter your, especially depending on your height, if your feet, depending on how well your feet touch the floor. A footrest is a good idea. It can help keep the lumbar, the pelvis, the hips, the pelvis, and the lumbar spine, especially, which then of course affects everything else, and better alignment. I'm not sure who told you that you should use one foot at a time, because of course, if you do it balanced, like one foot on there and then other foot on there the same way, I could see this being a good, effective strategy. But otherwise, 2 feet on the footrest at the same time, because you want to keep body alignment. And the reason why, and the best way to think about this is, whatever position you hold your body in, your body is going to adapt to. So if you sleep like this and your arm out here, well, don't be surprised. Like, when I'm not saying this exactly to you, but when you wake up, and all humans is who I'm saying this to, when you wake up, you're going to be contorted in that position. Like, if that's the way you sleep, your body's going to adjust in that position, which is the reason why I suggest to sleep on your back and your palms open. Now, that's not always so realistic, but there's things that we can work towards, and we keep reminding ourselves, just like all these exercises starts with the brain and spinal cord, reprogramming these patterns. So position is huge. In terms of sitting at your desk, yes, I like the footrest, 2 feet. I also like changing position often. Never just staying seated for sustained periods of time.
Okay, so standing on the desk, though, you can only do one foot at a time. So you prefer not to use a footrest standing or to keep switching?
No, definitely keep switching. Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah, good way to get misaligned would be to do one foot much more often.
Okay.
That'd be like
Two
if our
more very
strategy.
questions.
Sure. Yeah.
Running and walking, should you have your hands forward as you're running and walking?
Running, there's some mechanical lack of efficiency because you're not going to bend your elbow as fast, and it has to do with bringing like the left leg forward and the right arm in opposition for a sprint. So you're going to lose a little bit of strength that way. So if we're talking about performance, this conversation changes a little bit. And so you wouldn't like really run sprint like that. But otherwise, yes, it's a good idea to try to keep your palms open while standing, while walking, at least past beyond the hand facing the thigh position, more of an open position, because of course that transfers up the whole chain of the arm and then affects the shoulder alignment, which will affect the upper back and the neck alignment. So it is a very good idea to spend a lot of time more with the palms open. And also, like I share in today's session, there's actually a level of psychology about having the palms open and like being more receiving and open to the world. So it actually can change your psychology as well. But there's psychological benefits and mechanical as well.
I was taught by run specialists to run so you're straight like this to keep your body in a line.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so that's okay too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, there's a mechanical efficiency. The problem is most of us are spending, with our time with our hands rotated in, and then we don't realize. So it's good to undo those positions. So not necessarily you're going to transfer into performance activity with that type of thing, but remember that your body is constantly learning and adjusting the positions you keep it in. So if you're having more of a hands rotated in position, then it's affecting the forearm, the elbow, the shoulder, and then it's affecting this entire chain. So that's the reason why, the majority of the time you should have your palms open, the majority of the time.
And I have one last question if you have time for me.
Sure.
It's
Yes.
okay. When I am sitting, relaxing in the evening on my comfy, not very good chair, I'm sure, I get back spasms in my lower right back. And I'm now trying to align myself better. My legs are up on an ottoman, which I presume is good to have my legs up, maybe. The question I have is, should I be having a bolster or something under my knees?
Is your TV elevated?
Not too much.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be good to have your legs on an ottoman. Like for me personally, like I try to spend the minimal amount of time on the couch as possible, because couches are just not usually not. I mean, they make ergonomical couches, but most couches are not. And so they put your pelvis and your back and everything in a bad position. So like for me personally, if everyone, I wonder what Robbie does when he watches TV, like what kind of, well, I actually lay on a 36-inch roller and my TV is elevated significantly. So I get kind of close. I put my feet like on the brick of my fireplace, and I'll watch TV like that, like laying on the 36-inch roller. Of course, sometimes I get tired of that position and I go to the couch. But the great lesson in this is learning that you need to spend some time in body alignment, and then we can get away with these other things like our position at our desk and sitting on the couch and stuff. But we need to alter that with some extreme alignment. So one suggestion I'd have, and Patricia, if you could drop a link from our store for the 36-inch soft roller. So it'd be good to lay on a 36-inch roller, and then why? Because now your pelvis is neutral and your back is flat and your cervical spine is aligned. Now you're spending time there. You can have your arms open, which is undoing all this tension of stress from the day. It's amazing, and it's easy. It's super easy. It's so easy. So like that's one amazing thing that I suggest to everybody, is spend some of that time laying on the roller like that. It'll adjust your spine, adjust your tissues by something so easy and so effortless.
Okay, and if I'm on the ottoman with my legs flat, should I be putting a bolster under my knees or a roller under my knees to actually bend my knees as I'm sitting there?
You could, because otherwise, and really the benefit, and the only reason why I say that you could or you should is just because otherwise your pelvis starts sliding down and you start going into that posterior tilt, which is kind of misaligning the tissues. But I would again, yes. So when you're going to be there, yes, it would be a good idea to do that. Yes, it's a good idea to use the ottoman, but even more importantly, don't stay in these seated positions all the time with the hips flexed and such, because it's over time they'll create misalignment and shortness in tissues, which affects the whole body. So
Thank you so much for taking the time with me.
you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Yeah. Marilyn. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
there we go.
Share with me your fabulous questions.
Okay. I wanted to know a little bit more program and what we could expect. Now, I'm assuming this is not a nutritional thing at all. This is just body mechanics and like I can't expect to lose weight at the end of this or
No, absolutely. Yeah. We do coach nutrition. I believe in simplicity. I think that nutrition is made way too complicated and there's way too much marketing in nutrition. And it's actually very, very simple. And I think the reason why a lot of people come up with such random things about nutrition is because they've gotten their body into a state that's not functioning properly. So your body's not functioning, processing food the way it should. So it's there, oh, this is inflammatory and this causes this issue and that causes this. Well, once you are fit and you're eating a healthy diet, for most people, all you need to do after I'm going to give you the simplest plan in the world to stay super lean and super fit from nutrition. But first, I'll tell you that what you should do is very simple. And then you need to go and get like food allergy tests and then see how specific foods work in your body. So nobody without like proper testing and blood assays and stuff is going to be able to tell you exactly what foods are best for you until you do that work. But with that being said, the very best diet, which in a diet, what is a diet, right? A diet is the foods and drinks you consume on a regular basis. So every living organism has a diet. So diet's not necessarily a bad word. When I say diet, I don't mean to go on a diet. I mean the foods and drinks you consume on a regular basis. So what is the best nutrition plan for most people is moderate protein. And once you start to exercise, which you should be exercising very regularly, then you should have a high protein diet. Okay, what is a high protein? It's about 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, which for most people is about 70% of grams of protein as compared to your body weight. 70% of in the grams. So for example, if someone weighs 150 pounds, right? So let's say, or 200 pounds, if someone weighs 200 pounds, that would be 140 grams of protein per day for someone who weighs 200 pounds. Be 140.
that sounds like a lot.
It is a lot, but guess what? Your whole body is made. That's why most people are not lean and not fit because, okay, so you have 3 macronutrients. I love this conversation, by the way. So you have protein, fat, and carbohydrate, right? You need some carbohydrate. You need some fats, especially omega-3, which is like things that comes from fatty fish and walnuts. Ideally, it comes from a fish source. And then omega-6, which is probably primarily coming from like nuts and seeds and olive oil, this type of stuff. So, but you have protein, fat, and carbs. So if you're trying to lose weight, then why would you want to have low protein when what you're really after is have a lean body, and the lean body is made out of protein. Your muscle is made out of protein. All you're doing is taking muscle from the external environment, eating it, and then your body's assimilating on your body. So in all of your enzymes, all of cells function in signaling pathways because cells are constantly communicating with each other. That's the way your body works. All of these things are all proteins. The majority of all your body processes all have to do with proteins, and your muscle tissue is protein. So it makes a lot of sense just looking at it from this perspective that you want to have high protein. There's a significant amount of research, and on our online talk show, we'll actually have one of the best, the most elite protein researchers in the world very soon. But if we have protein, fat, and carbohydrates, right? Fat is going to primarily in beyond a moderate minimal amount is going to turn into fat on your body. So if that doesn't mean you want really low fat or have no fat. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you must have omega-3 and you must have omega-6. It's a requirement of life. So you need to eat omega-3 and you need to eat omega-6 fatty acids. But what happens with fat is most people are eating the wrong types of fat, and the type of ratio that they have of that fat on their body is way out of whack. So you want to have, for every 1 part omega-3, you want 2 parts omega-6. And so most Americans and most in industrialized developed countries, they have 1 part omega-3 and 25 parts other types of fat. This causes a major problem because, and we're getting off the protein, but while we're talking about nutrition, let me just give you everything you need to know. And within like 8 minutes, I'll give you everything you ever need to know, other than going to see a naturopathic medical doctor and get your own self checked out. You're going to have everything you need to know about nutrition within this 8-minute conversation. So omega-3 and omega-6, very important. You know, you need 1 part omega-3 per 2 parts omega-6. You also know that the only kind of fat you actually need is omega-3 and omega-6. You also know that we have way too much of other fats, saturated fats, trans fats, all this stuff. And what does that do? Why does it matter? Well, your body takes these fats and it actually develops immune substances from it that are inflammatory, right? So it takes those fats, and it actually is the building blocks to produce inflammatory immune substances. So then it makes your body inflamed, and it changes the ways your cells are functioning. And then your immune system sees its own self as foreign, and then it starts attacking itself. And then, you know, you guys end up with pain and stiffness and these issues and different autoimmune disease and all this stuff. And part of it is because you have the wrong type of fats on your body. Then by having too much carbohydrate, then that creates an inflammatory response. So you bring in too many carbohydrates, you bring in things like wheat and stuff, which doesn't agree with most people. And that creates more inflammatory effect. And so, like, how do we get out of this whole mess? So the way we get out of this mess is we have high protein. We eat 4 servings of vegetable the size of your fist per day. We eat 4 servings of fruit the size of your fist per day. Yes, fruit is sugar, but it's also like fruit actually has direct pathways of being used as energy in the body. And there's properties in fruit that bring life to your body, like, is very important. And some people don't process fruit that well. And some of the research, oh, it's too much sugar, it's inflammatory. Well, yeah, that's because you have 25, a ratio of 1 to 25 of fat. Your body's not processing right. You have too much stress. Your microbiome is not functioning properly. So then it's taking this fruit, which is totally healthy, and it's reacting different because the system's broken. So we have to fix the system so that the fuel that's supposed to work properly works properly, right? So high protein, 4 servings the size of your fist per day of vegetable, 4 servings of fruit the size of your fist per day of fruit. And then water, good source of water. You need to stay well hydrated, which means keep your urine, minus the multivitamin that you may take and change the color of your urine. So you have to pay attention to that. But your urine should be towards light yellow. And if you have high protein, you eat vegetable like that, you eat fruit like that, and you stay well hydrated, you're going to message me within the next 2 to 3 weeks and say, OMG, this has worked so well. I never realized nutrition could be so simple. And the reason why, and so I'm so animated about this, is because the way I really figured this out is by watching people in the gym for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, and seeing what's the common denominator. 99% of the time, this is the way that someone eats who's very lean and doesn't have issues. High protein, vegetable, fruit, and great hydration. That's the underlying factor. Like, and so there, I just gave it to you for free. I gave you the whole nutrition. Yeah, like that's the
What
way.
a guy.
Yeah, so then if you biomechanically optimize your body, then your body's not having age-related breakdown and dysfunction and all this stuff. You got nutrition on point, which is easy. Look, nutrition needs to be simple. Why? Because it's the thing you should do multiple times per day, and you have to have a total behavioral pattern around it. But exercise should be perfect. Why? Because it gives you a lot, 10x more results, and it's no more effort to have perfect exercise as it is to not have perfect exercise. And it's no additional effort. But to try to have a perfect diet and beat yourself up over every little thing you eat is arduous. It sucks, and most people are not going to follow through with that. So if you have a simple nutrition plan and you have perfect exercise, which doesn't require more effort, then when you're eating like that, it doesn't matter you have a little bit of alcohol or a little bit of cheat foods or a little, because 90% of the time you're eating high protein, vegetable and fruit and water, which is exact nutrients that your body needs to thrive. You're feeding your muscle. So that is the secret. That's the secret to having a lean, fit body. And the further you get away from that, the further that the more you're going to have problems. Like for a very, very high percentage of humans, that what I just said is absolutely true.
I think so too. I have a question. Right now, I did do that food sensitivity testing,
Awesome.
so I kind of know what's going on there. Yeah, actually, if I eat stuff that's wrong, I get these puffy things on my cheeks. It's weird. But I'm just started taking amino acids, and I was wondering what you think about that. Mostly my supplements are B vitamins.
Okay.
I started taking
Yeah.
the amino acids because it sounded good on the commercial.
Yeah. Well, the nutrients are another thing in terms of your micronutrients. You should get tested at the cellular level. And so then you're able to know, well, am I deficient in something? Do I need to eat more of certain foods? And then you customize to your body, because we process foods differently. That's how you go to the next level of nutrition.
Okay, amino acids, is that all the stuff in protein
Yes.
that helps your mitochondria and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, you have essential amino acids, which you need that your body won't create. So your body produces its own amino acids, but then there's some amino acids that you need to take, right? That you actually need to get from your diet. So, so by taking essential amino acids, which is, I'm sure, what you're speaking of, that will help you assimilate more protein without actually having to eat more protein, because you need 22 total amino acids to create a total protein structure. And so when you get the 11 essential amino acids from your diet, your body produces the other amount, and then you can make that happen.
Okay, can you get too much of that? Like, could I eat too much or overeat amino acids?
Yeah, you can,
Like,
because then if you have too much of one amino acid, it disrupts the structure of creating a protein, and then you have a big imbalance. So it's an area where I believe it's best to eat whole source of protein, but it's also really efficient way to get your protein by eating by taking a supplement of essential amino acids. But like in all things, use moderation. Don't try to get all your protein from taking an essential amino acid supplement.
okay, I get that. When I consider an avocado and omega-3, and nuts, you said were omega-6?
Yes. Yes.
And where does dark chocolate fall on that? Is it a fat?
What is what?
Where does dark chocolate fall on that list? Is it a
Yeah.
fat?
There is actually some good health benefits to dark chocolate. So I won't get down the rabbit hole of that, but yeah, there's definitely some solid health benefits from dark chocolate. But yeah, to answer your original question, yes, obviously I help clients with their nutrition and fat loss and being an optimal human. So whether it's body mechanics and just everything you need to live the highest quality of life is what I bring into our VIP system. And then I connect our clients with some of the world's best naturopathic doctors and stuff when it's needed for the extra layers and outside layers. But the way to get the best health is exercise, sleep, nutrition, hydration, breathing, right? And in that happens stress relief and all that stuff. But those are the things. Those are the foundational stuff. Yeah, I help clients with all of those things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So schedule semi-private and come see me.
She has already.
Oh. Miranda, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. It was a really great session today. Really intense and great.
Thank you.
And it raised questions that I still have in my mind about the thoracic breathing. And I'm wondering if you could explain them again, maybe with a different vocabulary, because it's just not, I'm not connecting yet with my body on the pulling the rib cage down. Is it really pulling the whole thing down? Because I feel like my entire rib cage is going down. It moves my chest down. Or is it closing is it a feeling of closing the ribs, or is it a feeling
Yes.
of contracting inwards? Which
So if you think about your front side rib cage as a bowl, you want to close the bowl. So it's like open bowl, close the bowl. And what's happening is when you exhale, you're doing two things in counteraction to them. selves, right? One thing is you're extending your thoracic spine. So you're trying to make your upper back go really straight. But if you just focus on that, you're going to hyperextend your lower back.
Yeah, that I understand. Yeah.
So to help control, so if this is the back and this is the front side of your body, you're extending the upper back, which if you just do that, you're going to end up hyperextending your lower back. So how do you control that? Is you pull down on the front side rib cage, and therefore you're contracting all the tissues around the diaphragm, and you're flushing all the air out and toxins out of your digestive system. And so then when you breathe in, then the diaphragm is dropping down. You let the lower abdomen extend. You breathe in big from your rear rib cage so that you're not only expanding the front side rib cage, you're expanding the back side rib cage, which gives your rib cage full elongation and expansion. And then again, going back into the next cycle, exhaling, extending the upper back, drawing the front side rib cage down, getting good alignment in the cervical, and repeating this process in cycles.
Okay. So that the down, it's not as if your whole chest is going down. It's
No.
a closing in word.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
On the exhale. Yeah.
Yep.
This
exactly.
stays in place. It's this
Right.
that. Okay.
Yeah. You
Now I
got it.
Thank
You got it. Yeah, it's a lot of body control. Yeah. It's a lot of, yeah.
Yeah.
very much.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, I've been trying hard to sleep on my back, but it's so difficult. How, pillow wise, in terms of the support of your head as you're lying flat, how high do you think of that pillow being ideally? Is your head, or are you lying flat on a mattress with no pillow?
Yeah, it's ideal. It's ideal, or use a cervical pillow that helps restore the lordotic curve in the cervical spine. Just a moderate amount. You don't need much. You can just use a rolled up towel, or they sell different cervical pillows. But yeah, you don't want a lot. You don't want your head. You don't want to be like this while you're sleeping.
So ideally, the back of your head would be on the mattress. Are you saying?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But it is good. Depending on the alignment of your neck now, it is good to go in whichever direction will put you in alignment. So I teach to have a straight cervical spine, but it's not so that because that's the most correct position. It's actually because of, it's not the, sorry, just had someone come in my office here. It's not because that you want to have a straight cervical spine. You actually want to have a little bit of lordotic curve. You want curvature in your cervical spine. Just like your lower back, you have that little curve. You want that in your cervical spine. But the thing is most of us are like this and have our head too far forward. So we need to go towards straight so that we have a minimal lordotic curve. Because if we try to do a minimal lordotic curve with not perfect sensing of our body position, we're going to have way too much lordotic curve. So I teach to go straight for the purpose of having minimal lordotic curve. I hope that makes sense for everybody. Yeah. So if you had like too much curve in your neck, it would be a good idea to lay down flat and start letting your cervical go more flat so that you can go towards the proper adjustment position. But if you had like what they call military neck, like really straight cervical spine, then it'd be good to use a pillow or something to restore cervical alignment so you have a little bit of curvature there. So that's kind of the full story on how you want to think about that. Sorry, you're muted. Sorry, somehow you got muted.
Better?
Yep, I can hear you.
It was an exercise that we did today. We were lying our back flat and head on the floor, knees bent, and raising the head just a slight bit, doing a chin tuck and then trying to raise the head an inch off the ground. That was incredibly hard for me.
A lot of people, this is difficult for a lot of people.
On a scale of 1 to 10 of agony, how far should you go?
6.
I wasn't sure if I was doing harm or doing good.
So for all exercise, unless you consider yourself an experienced exerciser, which means you've had 18 months of exercise in that type of exercise. So let's go really simple. If I was just talking about doing bicep curls, for me to be considered like an advanced exerciser, I need to be used to doing bicep curls for 18 months before I would go past about roughly a six to seven in intensity, right? So all of your exercise shouldn't really be past about a 6 of intensity. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's times where you can go into aerobic exertion in exercise, but, and there's some benefits to that for sure. But I would try not to push yourself too hard when your body's not adapted to exercise. And that's for all, actually, whether it's a neck exercise or a cardio exercise of any, I would try to keep it towards the comfortable level, because you'll get a large amount of results without overstressing your body that way.
Yeah. I do a lot of exercises that involve, you know, coming up, but coming up further, you know, and it's hard, but it's staying in that position of just a, you know, just a little bit above the floor that is really hard.
Yeah, right. Because, well, when you really bring your head up, what happens is these muscles that attach here and come
Yeah.
down and attach the sternocleidomastoid. Those are the muscles that get tight when we age. And so this is the area that starts taking over. But what we need is all these deep neck flexors. We need all these deep neck flexors to be strong. And when we hold our head barely off the table and we have our chin tucked, your body doesn't have any other choice but to use the deep neck flexors. And
Yeah.
that's the reason why that exercise is so difficult for most people, because they're used to having compensatory neck muscle usage, and they're almost never properly use the deep neck flexors. So it's forcing you into using the proper muscles. And that's the reason why you feel such difficulty doing that.
So it is a
So,
positive,
oh yeah.
if you really concentrate, you can make that
Yeah.
into positive pain. Okay.
Yeah, but a good rule of thumb for any new exercise is don't go past a 6 of intensity.
Yeah.
You should not go past a 6 of intensity.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. The one thing I always say is, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Just because you can push your body to X level doesn't mean you should. Yeah. It's all about building that great foundation with comfortable exercise and letting the progress happen from there.
Yeah.
All right. Sophie. Oh,
Oh.
sorry. Actually, Randa, did you have any more questions before?
I was just looking, I did, but it went out of my head.
Oh. Well, if you come back, we can come back to you if you think it's
Okay, thanks.
okay. Yeah, you're so welcome. And I just want to remind all of you, if there's certain specific things coming up for you that you want to talk to me about, you're welcome to schedule a semi-private session with me. Anything about weight loss, nutrition, fitness, strength, mobility, any of these things, definitely I'm here for you. So, and Patty dropped the link again in the chat there. And Sophie, welcome.
Yes, hello, thank you. This course is just wonderful, really. Thank you so much. It's wonderful.
You're
So,
welcome.
yes, I'm having quite a lot of problems at the moment with sciatic and maybe arthrosis, I don't know. And what I realize is that, so it's very difficult for me to do a lot of exercises except for the upper body, which is not my main problem. My main problem is my feet. I realize that I cannot lift my toes. And when I massaged the plant of my feet, maybe I did too heavy massage because I have a tendency to do too much. And now I feel that, I don't know how you call it, but you know, that little pin that seems to go into your feet soles, in the sole of the feet, and it goes ding, you know, it's really painful, but so it was limit. So I decided not to massage as much, maybe, you know, and
Right.
And I was wondering if, because I have so much problem with my feet, maybe it's not so good to do all the other exercises that you showed, because I'm so, I'm really not aligned, you know, and also I've had for many years now, I've had a problem. my body was crooked. And I realized with a chiropractor, in fact, I don't know if you know those, they're called chiro-specific. And they just adjust behind the ear and then
Right.
your body comes all aligned, but it's
This is
not
called
for,
a upper cervical chiropractor. Yeah.
okay.
It's upper cervical. Yeah.
And here it's called chiro-specific.
Mm.
But it's the same thing because it's a course that he did in United States. And anyway, the problem is that I go every two months. I should be going every 3 months, but my body just, because my body was like I was an inch and a quarter out of balance. So it was quite a lot of difference. Now it's only maybe a quarter of an inch or.
Sophie, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you or cut you, but can you tell me what is your specific question? I just want to make sure that I'm able to get to everybody.
Okay,
today.
well, the problem, so what, if I have so much problem in my feet, is it a good idea to do all the other exercise that you showed? Or, I mean, I cannot lay down on the mat, but, or maybe I can do some standing up.
Yeah, many of the exercises that we do, you can do laying down to start with to get into the motion. And then you would need to build different exercises into the standing position. But lying down is a great way to start an entry point into exercise. It's a very good idea to start with. But there's always motions and movements that you can do standing. I mean, you can do walking, you can keep your body in alignment and do bending over motions like we showed in the full body fix. Like, there's so many different motions, and just starting at a comfortable level, not going past an intensity of a 6, and then building more and more volume into your exercise over time will make your body more fit. And then we'll start enabling you to do other exercises that will then come back to give you even more fitness and strength.
Okay, but it's okay to do all the exercise that you showed moderately, probably right now.
Yes.
And after that, just go further and further in the length, in the amount of
volume. Yeah, and the volume. Yeah, we call that volume. Yeah, more reps and more time.
Okay.
In the exercise. Yeah.
So it's okay to do them even if, for instance, the feet exercise, it's okay to do it, but moderately, because otherwise I get injured maybe.
Yes. Yeah. You want to keep all of, especially when you have tissue issues, you want to keep the exercise very moderate, like even like a 4 or 5 of intensity. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nancy, hello.
Hello, Robbie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for all this amazing information and training. Just invaluable, just amazing content. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have a million questions, but I'll try and keep it just to a few.
Okay. Nancy, it's okay, it's not a big deal, but there's some background noise coming from your microphone. So please definitely ask your questions, and then when I respond, I'll mute you, just so that way. Okay. Go ahead.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm going to start with diet because I need to lose a few pounds, and the pounds put stress on the alignment too, right? So you mentioned you have 4 veggies, like fistfuls, 4 fruits a day, and a lot of protein. Are you having the veggies, the protein, and the fruit all at once? How are you eating it?
Good question. Yeah, good question. So, um, okay, so meal structuring and when to have the food. So it's good to start your day with protein and some fruit because you're going to need that energy throughout the day, and you start getting into the most active and awake portion of your day. So it's good to start with the fruit and proteins, and then in the middle of the day you have the vegetables throughout the day, and also as the last meal of the day as well. And protein is also very important to have in the last meal and really in every meal, right? So I like the intermittent fasting structure where you sometimes wait to eat till maybe 10, like if you're waking up around 6 a.m., you're waiting till maybe 10, 11 a.m. before you have your first meal. And you're giving yourself at least like 3 hours before you go to bed when you stop eating. This is very, very healthy, and it gives you enough time to get in your nutrients. One concern I have is people not eating enough. So in training clients for many years to optimize their body composition, rarely did happen. Absolutely, of course, but rarely was someone overweight or have an issue because they ate too much. It's usually because people don't eat enough, and then they're starving, and then they eat all the wrong and bad things, right? So bad or weight gaining type of foods. So it's good to keep yourself satiated with healthy, nutritious foods throughout the day, so you don't activate a hunger mechanism so strong that when you go to eat, you have it takes a tremendous amount of willpower to make a healthy choice, right? So part of it is just psychological. It's not even about just the physiology, biology of it. It's actually about the psychology of making sure you don't put yourself in a position where you're starving and all you're going to do is make a really bad choice. So vegetable and fruit and protein and fruit in the morning, vegetables throughout. Make sure you end your day with the protein and the vegetable. Ideally, you kind of bring down the carb or the fruit source at night. And also it's good to have the fruits before you do exercise because you'll use it in the actual energy production. And the same thing right after exercise to restore the energy. And it's not, by the way, that you shouldn't have beans because those aren't healthy, because you should. That's like really good for you. And there's other food sources that are really good for you. It's because the more complex I make nutrition, the less people will follow and pick and choose, oh, I'm going to do that and that. So I just keep it 4 things to get clients to optimize around this so that we can have the next conversation, because otherwise what I found is they never get the biggest building blocks and foundation down, and we run around in circles. So yes, there are other healthy foods that you should eat, but your foundation is in that high protein, the vegetable, the fruit, and the hydration. And until you get that, there's really nothing else you should be focusing on until you get that down pat. So you can unmute.
Great, thank you so much. I don't eat a lot of meat. I love black beans and chickpeas. I could eat them all day long. So high fiber, lots of iron.
It's healthy. There's a lot of health to that, definitely.
Yeah, but they're high in
Definitely.
carbs. So,
Right. Yeah, that's the hard part, like about a vegan diet. One of the difficult parts is not saying you're vegan, but is there's only protein, fat, and carb. So if you start bringing protein down, then what ends up happening is you have much more fat and carbs, which are energy nutrients and going to keep, excess body weight on a lot easier. I mean, most vegans I know are not in good weight. They eat much more fats and carbs because they're not eating proteins. And so, and it's true for meat eaters too, for people who have high protein. It can go both ways. Don't get me wrong. Right. But it's the high nutrient density diet, high protein with high nutrient and good hydration. That's where it's at. That middle ground.
great. I keep well hydrated. I noticed something in the trainings this week is that my right knee, from the hip to the knee, is turned in. The other one's straight, but the bone is actually turned in a bit. So my knee is like not straight, it's like that.
We call that femoral internal rotation. Yeah.
So if sorry.
Going back to session 2,
Yeah.
we talked about the hamstring that comes down to the middle. So the semitendinosus, that tissue is very likely, is not the cause, but it's very likely tight and also adds to misalignments and dysfunction in that part of your body. Sorry, you muted yourself.
Yes, because I ended up with a really severe SI joint issue on that side.
Yeah.
So I have to do maybe some maneuvering the knee out to the side while I'm laying on my back, or
Correct.
just to open that up more, stretch it
Yeah,
out.
that's part of it. Exactly. Yeah. And then working in the internal and external hip rotation, making sure those degrees are symmetrical. Yeah. That we show in session 2 also. Yeah.
Neck. I've been sleeping without a pillow I tried that last night, and I find that's quite comfortable. Is that okay? Because I find my cervical vertebrae has a little bit of a curve.
Good.
So I
Yeah.
want to straighten that out. So
Well,
if I'm, go
hold
ahead.
on. Remember what I shared is that you actually should have a little bit of lordotic curvature in your
Right.
cervical spine, but it's minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal. So go ahead.
If I lay on my mattress with my shoulders right at the end of the mattress, and I let my head fall over like that and stretch it out, is that helpful, or should I not be doing that?
No, and part of some people, also from what you shared in the beginning, which was how weight can affect body alignment and stress. So that's also true with weight. Having more weight on your back can put your body in a position where you try to just lay flat without a head support. It really puts a lot of stress on the cervical spine, and you're actually over extending the spine when you do that. So you actually definitely should use a head support, and you should use a cervical pillow that helps support the arch and then supports the cranium from the back as well. For you, that would not be a good idea to try to just lay flat, because your neck can't lay flat. Remember, because yes, you should lay flat. Yes, that's the best answer, but you can't. So that's not going to work for you. So then you have to use a cervical pillow to then try to get more towards the alignment that I'm explaining.
But like the exercise to stretch out these muscles, if you have your back supported right up to the shoulder level and your head is just hanging over the edge of the bed, is that crunching out your vertebrae in the back, or is it actually benefiting these muscles here?
It does benefit those, but with like all things, moderation is key. So, if you're not used to doing that, definitely don't go past a 5 or 6 of intensity, and you're based on your current range of motion. You want to be careful going to that full end range of motion, but you should have that range of motion, and your cervical spine does have the functionality to do that. But again, moderation.
Thank you. I notice when I sit in my car that my knees are higher than my hips. That's a problem, isn't it? Because when I get out of the car, I feel like I'm I'm coming out of a squat, and I use my left leg to take myself up out of my car. So if my knees are higher than my hips, how can I adjust that? Should I get like a foam pillow to raise up so that my knees are parallel to my hips?
Yeah, that could help. Yeah. It's either that or buy a new car. Yeah. It would be a lot more fun to just buy a new car.
Yes, I wish. Okay, well, I don't want to take up too much more time here, but I really appreciate all the answers and wisdom and training's just awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And my team's telling me I have to go now.
Yes.
Because we have another meeting, but much love to all of you, and I will look forward to seeing you in the 5th session tomorrow. Make it an awesome Friday. Much love to all of you.